Geeks Not Nerds. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Vince.
Vince, today we're going to be talking about Marvel and Iron Man. Today, our question is Iron Man the new face of Marvel Comics? And I have to apologize for not having a name to go with this question. Somebody asked us this a couple weeks ago, and I thought I had it written in my notes, and I just can't find it. So anyway, I got to apologize for that. We just did the multi-topic extravaganza. Sometimes stuff gets mixed around a little bit. Anyway, I got to apologize. I'm not sure who asked the question, but if you are watching, be sure and give yourself some credit in the comments. And anyway, thanks a lot for the question. It's something we should really talk about. And you know, Dan's been asking me to do something on this for a while too. So anyway, so is Iron Man the new face of Marvel Comics? And let me talk for a minute about Dan, because this is a point that Dan makes to me a lot, where he'll say, you know, because you know he's really jaded about Spider-Man right now, because you know how big of a Spider-Man fan Dan is right now. We got Dan Slott doing Doc Ock in Spider-Man's Body, doing Superior Spider-Man. Dan doesn't like that to the point where, even though he collects Spider-Man, he's not even buying that book. Once they stop doing, once they stop calling it Amazing Spider-Man, he said, well, I don't need to collect this anymore because it's not Amazing Spider-Man, and I hate it, so I'm done. And he doesn't like how Dan Slott writes Spider-Man. I agree with him, well, all the time. And so he and I have talked about this a lot, and he's like, you know, Iron Man is kind of what Spider-Man used to be for Marvel. And I think he's kind of got a point.
That's interesting. I mean, one of the big things I noticed that you walk into a toy store and you notice that there's a wall of Iron Man stuff, and then there seems to be an equal section of Avengers stuff, and then there's some Spider-Man stuff here and there, but that's really about it.
Yeah.
And I could see how somebody could come to the idea that Iron Man has kind of become the poster child for Marvel, and I don't necessarily disagree. I don't necessarily think it's going to stay that way forever.
I don't think it necessarily has to either, but I think that I would have to agree with that at the moment pretty strongly, because I feel like it's this way both movie-wise and comic book-wise. I feel like, and I feel like a number of things have caused it. One of them, of course, is just that obviously Iron Man was so popular in the movies. We know that movie sales don't necessarily translate to comic book sales, but they do affect what goes into comic books, certainly. Right. We've seen this with costumes, we've seen this with characterizations. Matt Fraction started writing Tony Stark a great deal more like Robert Downey, you know, because he got so popular in the movies. And you know, Vince, when you and I were kids, you could have almost called Iron Man a second-string Marvel character. You know,
for the longest time I had, and then the movie came out and suddenly people cared, and I went, oh, I guess everybody likes Iron Man now. That's interesting.
Yeah.
And you know, for me, I liked the Iron Man movies, but still, it's not something that I care to read. I guess I'm still kind of in that mindset.
Me too.
Where I'm, you know, Iron Man, I'd be open to looking at a really good Iron Man story, and let all the flooding comments happen about, you should read this one!
Right.
So, which plenty of people have said. People will keep saying, you got to check the Fraction stuff out. Oh, the Fraction.
Oh, Eric's constantly telling me that. Well, and I was actually reading it for a while, just because I was dabbling in things. When I finally got back into current comics again, that was one of the books I put on my poll, just because Eric was always talking it up, and I needed to see what was going on, and so I was trying some things. And I read it for 10 or 12 issues, and it was good, but the problem was, I got to where I guess I didn't care how good it was because it was Iron Man. Isn't that strange? I just got to where I was like, it's good.
Poor Iron Man.
I mean, you know, I wouldn't mind reading this, but I don't know if I want to keep buying it. It's just he's not my favorite character. I don't know. It's just not. It just wasn't a big thing. And I've gotten to where there are other characters that like I dabbled in and then got really interested in, like Green Arrow. I'm gonna read as long as it's good. I've really gotten into Green Arrow to a degree, but it didn't happen with Iron Man for some reason, and I guess that's something that I could explore and psychoanalyze myself on, which I'm not going to right now. But I'm just saying that that like for me, I didn't jump onto that bandwagon. I think that it somewhat makes sense that Iron Man is so prevalent comic book wise right now because Avengers has become like the big mega powerhouse of Marvel, and it wasn't that way when we were kids either.
No.
You know when we were kids, Avengers had a book, Spider-Man had 3 or 4. We have flipped this now. Avengers right now's got like 6 books, 5 or 6 books, and Spider-Man has 2. And the second Spider-Man book was recent. You know, like a year ago they started doing Avenging Spider-Man. And how appropriate is it that the second Spider-Man books have the word avenging in it?
Indeed. I think that at some point that there will be a flip back to Spider-Man. I don't feel like Iron Man's going to stick around. Well, he's going to stick around. It's not like he's going to go away. But he's not going to stay at the forefront. I am almost certain of it. And 20 years from now, suddenly... 20 years from now, I'll be eating my hat, potentially, but...
I think I have to agree with you on that. I think it's Downey. And Downey ain't going to be playing that character forever.
Exactly.
You know, he just signed his contract again. Or he's talking about, he's about to, where like his contract was about to be up. He didn't have to come back for Avengers 2 if he didn't want to. He was only signed on for so many films. And he said, well, I really love playing Tony Stark. I want to keep doing this. So we're going to get him again for a while, but he's not going to play that character forever. He's getting older. He's not going to want to be Iron Man when he's 60.
And to my understanding, I've heard that Marvel intends to treat it kind of like Bond, where they recast Tony Stark and then keep trying to carry that lightning rod around and hope that lightning hits it again.
Yeah, sure. Well, and the thing is, that's what they should do. I completely agree with that, because those are characters that we should not see. This is another topic, and I think somebody actually asked this recently, so maybe we should do a video on this too. But I don't think that we should let those characters age and then end that universe. I think they're playing it so much like comic book, and I really like how comic book they're making it, that like we shouldn't look at them as even though Iron Man's numbered this way, once we get into Captain America and Thor and stuff like that, they're not numbering them anymore. We should just look at them like comic book stories, where it's another story about that character, not Captain America 5 or 6 or 7, and so keep recasting it so that we can keep him a certain age. That's what I think.
Yeah,
so that we can just, especially if they stay popular, so that we can just kind of ad infinitum keep making these things if people want them and they stay popular. It works in comic books. We don't have to cast them in comic books. So I think that's a necessary thing you have to do if you want to keep recasting them. But if you want to keep those characters around. So to your point, can somebody else play Iron Man, make it his own, and still make people like it? I don't know. I think possibly. But I think that Iron Man's popularity in the comics does have everything to do with Downey.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think that when Downey leaves, there will be a dramatic decrease in interest of Iron Man. I feel like people will probably give it a shot, but they won't feel like this is the true Iron Man anymore. And I feel like Spider-Man is not going to go away. I feel like Spider-Man is kind of the Batman of the Marvel Universe, in that people love him and they want more of him. And I feel like right now this is kind of just what's hot. And what's Spider-Man is this character that is so inventive and fun and different that I don't feel like that's going to go away. And I don't feel like Iron Man can completely step into those shoes.
I think that you're right at the core of the character. I don't think you're right about the way he's been handled in the last decade.
Yeah, no, I understand. And there's a reason why there's 2 Spider-Man books and then a bajillion Avengers with Iron Man in it.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, way back in the day, you could certainly say, well, there used to be 1 Spider-Man book and 1 Iron Man book, but you also had fewer books altogether, where, like, characters didn't have multiple books. And maybe you had, like, Spider-Man Team-Up, and you could technically call that a second Spider-Man book, but Marvel usually had Marvel Team-Up, and it just had Spider-Man in it all the time, And so, like, when you go back to the 60s and the 70s and even into the 80s, they had just fewer books. And then once you got into the 90s, they started blowing it up so that you had a whole lot more books. And so then you go to DC and Batman's always had 4 or 5 books. The difference between Batman and Spider-Man you're absolutely right at the core of the characters, but the difference between them, yeah, I know, but I feel like we need to also go in this direction too. The difference between them in the way they've been written and the way they've been published in the last several years is that Batman has not been fundamentally changed. Like what people like about him, so that people won't keep buying books for him. But the problem is, it's difficult not for Spider-Man to go that direction. I understand what happened. It's just unfortunate that it happened that way, because Spider-Man was a kid and he was growing up. And at some point, if he grows up, then you either have to allow new stories to be told about that character in a different way as an adult, or you have to retcon him and bring him back to a younger age. They went with the second possibility, and that was a bad idea. Because now we're just kind of retreading the same stories and not doing them as well. And that's really what's been going on, in my opinion, with that character. I know a lot of people like Slott. I don't care for a lot of what he's done with the character. I feel like he's been very inconsistent tonally with the character, and I feel like he's just regressed him back so far. But Slott's not to blame for the beginning of that. One More Day, of course, is to blame for that. Of course, as always, because you can blame One More Day for pretty much everything that's been wrong with Spider-Man since 2007.
Who was responsible for One More Day?
Quesada.
Ooh.
Yeah, of course. And JMS's name is on it, but JMS wanted his name off of it. I mean, he was writing Spider-Man at the time. That was mandated from on high. Quesada made him write that. He didn't want to write it. He didn't want to do that, and that's when he left. So he broke up the marriage. He did it Quesada's way because he told him to, with the ridiculous Mephisto thing, and then that was it. And then he left, and Spider-Man has not been the same since. So. I really feel like that has everything to do with the confusion of what to do with this character, I mean, we can't just have him suddenly start getting back together with Mary Jane again unless they realize that that's not a big problem for most readers, you know what I mean? Quesada had this idea that, like, the marriage was what was wrong with Spider-Man, you know what I mean? Him and Mary Jane being married ruined that character. It didn't for most readers. It didn't for me. I don't think it did for a lot of people, and most people hate One More Day. We've talked about this a lot on the channel before. And, it's unfortunate because, like I said, they kind of had to regress him while the rest of the Marvel Universe is moving forward. Spider-Man's had to go backwards and then kind of, not really come very much forward while the rest of the Marvel Universe is going on. So I feel like he's kind of been left behind in a way. And so, of course he's not really the big face of Marvel like he used to be because he's almost not the same character anymore.
Yeah, fair enough. And in the Ultimate Universe, he's literally not the same character anymore.
That's right.
I suppose, and in the regular universe, he's pretty much not the same character anymore.
Well, it's going to be a moot point after a while because I keep hearing that they're gonna destroy Ultimate altogether. So.
I wouldn't necessarily be against that.
There's been a lot of talk about that lately. I don't know exactly how they're going to do it. So I've heard some things. I'm not going to speculate, but anyway, yeah. So when I've got more actual news about that, we'll talk about it. But.
Indeed. Oh, just cut it. Just cut it all. Anyway.
So I guess the reason I felt the need to talk about all that is because, again, you were right in what you said about the core of this character is that everybody wants more real Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, if Spider-Man's kind of fallen back in what he used to be story-wise, doesn't it make sense that somebody else had to kind of step up and that it was sort of what was popular at the time, and so it was Iron Man? Yeah. I feel like that's kind of happened. I mean, like, Iron Man is in a whole bunch of books because of Avengers. Now he's even going to be in Guardians of the Galaxy. I mean, he's freaking everywhere. He's going to be in that book, yeah. I mean, he's just going to be everywhere. And I wouldn't be surprised if Robert Downey didn't guest star, didn't make a cameo in the movie just because of that, And anyway, I mean, he's everywhere. And like Spider-Man is also an Avenger, but like. Iron Man was always an Avenger, so it makes more sense.
Yeah, it seems to be that Spider-Man is becoming more of a peripheral character. I feel like people are starting to use people peripherally, and they're starting to really focus in on a single character. Now, like even in Thunderbolts, Deadpool's become a very peripheral character.
Oh, really?
And now that surprises me a little bit, considering how big of a thing Deadpool was for a while. Mm-hmm. And I feel like they're starting to pull back a little bit and realize this character has a place. And maybe we shouldn't be shoving it into people's faces, and then we'll just let this character naturally grow. I feel like there's a potential that eventually Iron Man will get too big for his britches, and then suddenly he'll have to build a new suit. No, but at some point, Iron Man will get a little too big for his britches, and then the character... Why
does Tony Stark wearing an Ironmonger suit?
This is Romeo, shut up! Boom, boom. But I like how
I have a guest room in the back.
Hop in. There's champagne. But
that's weird.
I feel like at some point Iron Man's going to become too big, and he's going to be in so much, or he's just going to become oversaturated, and people will lose a bit of interest, and they'll pull him back, and then they'll start pushing other people to the front, and I feel like the natural choice is going to be Spider-Man.
Maybe so. What's really interesting is that Deadpool had like way too many of his own books for a while and things like that. He was on too many teams. Iron Man was always a team player, so having him on a bunch of teams doesn't make anybody go, wait a minute, why is he here? Yeah. Like Wolverine, where Wolverine is like, why is he on so many teams? I feel like Spider-Man's kind of like Wolverine right now, where like he's put on covers to sell books, but then nothing's done with him inside, right?
Right.
I feel like that happens a whole lot, but like, I'm not sure if you can oversaturate Iron Man without giving him too many of his own books, and that's not happening.
That's a terrific point.
I'm really not sure you're right about that.
That's a good point. Well...
Because the nice thing about Iron Man is you put him in a book, and even if he's, like, not entirely peripheral, people aren't going to be like, why is he involved in all these stories? Because he's a genius who makes a lot of weapons, so there's always a place for him. Whereas Spider-Man, there's a lot of stories where it's just like, what would we do with that guy?
Well, maybe what I should say is this. Maybe he won't become oversaturated. Maybe he'll just outwear his welcome. Maybe he'll just be around so much. And maybe he won't even fade away in the way of being non-present.
Yeah.
But maybe his presence in books will be a little... less important. Maybe he'll become one of those peripheral characters again. Just because people go, Iron Man's been around for years. God, that guy's been around since that Robert Downey Jr. guy played him. He's old now.
I think what's probably gonna. I think you're right about that. But I also think what's more likely to happen is that Iron Man will just kind of stick around and sort of do most of what he's doing, but when they start doing Spider-Man right, people won't notice as much because they'll be reading Spider-Man again, you know? Right. Like, I don't feel like Iron Man is too... Here's the thing, I don't want people to think that I think that Iron Man is too much in the forefront right now. I don't. I just feel like Spider-Man's not enough in the forefront. And so Iron Man looks more present than he really is. That's what I think's going on. Now, he is in a whole bunch of books, but like I said, you make 4 or 5 Avengers books, and it's going to make sense that Iron Man's in a lot of them. The same thing with Captain America. They're going to be around, you know? And so, I'm not sure he's even too present. I just feel like Spider-Man's not present enough.
I'd agree with that. I really
Especially
don't care.
because he's not Peter Parker right now.
Iron Man being a big thing doesn't bother me. It just kind of surprises me a little bit.
That it was him.
Yeah.
Because when you looked at the world pre-Robert Downey, I could have never even I could have never begun to call this.
You know what's funny is I remember thinking when I was a kid, I picked up an Iron Man comic book and thought, wow, that wasn't bad. And then I started looking, I'm like, wow, why is Iron Man not like the big guy? And then over the years, I just kind of forgot about that. I still have that issue too. I was like, wow, look at this Iron Man thing's really fun. He has a suit. And then I was a kid. What do you expect? But
that was the selling point, yeah.
Indeed. Otherwise, he's just a rich drunk guy.
We had a different kind of suit. Don't you think it's really interesting that it's been 5 years?
Yeah.
And that it's kind of it hasn't gone away. And again, I think it's because Iron Man stayed popular, and that the movies have kind of kept him in the forefront. Not to beat a dead horse, but I mean, like, you know, people were kind of like this on Iron Man 2. Some people loved it, some people didn't like it. People were really polarized on Iron Man 2. But like, I think that a lot of people really liked what was done with him in Avengers, and I think it also really helped that Gwyneth Paltrow was in that movie, because it kind of felt like he wasn't just kind of like there. It was almost like partially another Iron Man film to a degree, you know. So, which was nice because Iron Man started this whole thing. So some of his supporting cast deserved to be there. But anyway, I don't know. It's so weird. I get really... I'm with you. I think you and I are exactly aligned on this. I get giddy about Iron Man in the movies. I just don't care in the comics. I don't know why.
You know, I liked Iron Man 1 a lot.
Yeah.
And I liked Iron Man 2 about as much as I liked Iron Man 1, but it just didn't have that new factor to me.
Oh, okay.
So I felt like it was tonally and in the way of pushing the envelope about the same as Iron Man 1. So I went, there's a lot of the things that are just the same for me. And yes, it was funny, it was entertaining, but Iron Man 1 was a big thing for me, and Iron Man 2 was an entertaining movie. And then
I agree with you.
I really hope that Iron Man 3 at least maintains the entertainment factor.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there's no reason this should fall off. I feel like there's no reason. They've proven that they can do different story arcs in 3 different movies and have him learn a lesson in 3 different movies. So why not have him do it in the 4th Fourth Iron Man movie? When it's his own movie?
When it's his own movie? Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that was convoluted, but I think you understand.
I enjoyed everything about that.
So Iron Man 4 is coming out, so be sure to watch for that.
Yeah, when you put it like that, we're also getting Captain America 2 and Thor 2, so... I can't wait for Black Widow 3. if they ever give her own solo film.
I wouldn't mind that. Wouldn't mind seeing I would not
Hawkeye
mind.
2.
You know what I would like to see is just a S.H.I.E.L.D. movie.
Hawkeye 1.5, because really, he was in this much of Thor.
Right. I would like to see a S.H.I.E.L.D. movie with...
Despite the fact that S.H.I.E.L.D.'s getting its own TV show?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, all right.
Because
cool.
I would like to have... oh my god. All I could think of was Tony Stark. Sam Jackson.
Yeah.
Nick Fury.
Yeah.
I would like to have Nick Fury.
Well, I think Nick Fury should just get his own movie, but yeah.
And I would love to have the Black Widow and Hawkeye in an Iron Man movie.
In a S.H.I.E.L.D. movie?
In a S.H.I.E.L.D.
I think
movie.
what would be cool is if the TV show ends up being really good, and I'm planning on doing a review series on it like I do with Arrow, if S.H.I.E.L.D. ends up being really, really good, and I'm really hoping it is, I think it would be really cool, and if it's popular, I think it would be really cool if they took some of the cast from that show and then put some of the bigger guns with them and gave that a movie, you know what I mean? Yeah. Where like you had everybody you just mentioned, but then some of the supporting cast from the TV show, and you mix them all together and give that a movie. That'd be cool. I would be
highly pleased by that. So, this topic has radically changed, but it's all peripherally related.
But that's okay. You know, I haven't minded GNNs going over time a little bit lately because Vince and I have not had enough time to make a regular podcast again. So I've been letting the GNNs go on a little bit longer so that we get to really discuss some things in depth. And it's been a while since we've really just sat down and talked Marvel. And we've been doing the multi-topic extravaganza lately, so we haven't done any singular topics. So anyway, I'm glad we took our time on this one.
Yeah, we hammered it out. It would have been funnier had this been about Thor.
We Justin hammered it out, Vince.
We Justin hammered it.
Anyway, everybody, thanks a lot. Yeah, you said Thor, I brought it right back to Iron Man, dude.
Woo!
Everybody, thanks a lot for watching. Really hope you enjoyed it. And if there's anything you'd ever like to see us talk about in the future, leave that in the comments below. And also, tell us what you think about this topic. Do you think Iron Man is the new face of Marvel? Do you enjoy reading Iron Man more than you did before because of Robert Downey? Have you always been a giant Iron Man fan? What do you think about Iron Man? Leave that in the comments as well. Thanks as always for watching. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Vince, reminding you to support your local Iron Man store. Comic book store.
That'd be the strangest thing in the world. And if that existed, like, this wouldn't even be a video. It'd be like, of course Iron Man is the new face of Marvel. Spider-Man doesn't have his own store.
Spider-Man's walking around kicking a can. I want to have my own store. It's his own store. I like comic books too.
We'll see everybody later. Bye. Vince, are you thinking what I'm thinking?
I think so, Cap. But how do you get clowns to shave their legs?
Well, I'm not sure, but what I was thinking is, I think our viewers should join the Geeks United Club.
The Geeks United Club? That's a terrific idea. When they join, they get lots of stuff.
Do they really? Can you jog my memory?
Stuff like this handy-dandy manila envelope in which we ship all your stuff.
That's pretty cool, but it's not the coolest part. They also get this DVD that has 2 full hours of their favorite Geekvolution content. They get to pick what videos go on here, and they also get a custom episode of Geeks Not Nerds just from us to them.
That's pretty cool. They also get a Geeks United membership card on which they can put their name and check as to whether or not they will be a Logan Tier or a Doomsayer.
You know, I would check Logan Tier, but that would make me a fan of myself.
I think I'm gonna check Logan Tier because I like to be unpredictable.
Fair enough. They also get a random comic from the Comic Vault. Now, the Comic Vault is very vast and ominous, and that means that the chances of you getting this particular comic are not that great, but it could be anything. It might be this, but it might be all kinds of other comics, too.
We also have a much longer publication in the form of Captain Logan's novel, The Girl with 7 First Names. It is a comedic science fiction novel. Check it out.
They also get this letter from Doomsvent. I've read it. It's appalling.
He's hugely insulting. Oh, they get one more thing.
Oh, what's that, Vince?
They can request a rewind.
Or a Vince Versus.
Ooh,
Yeah, for us to review sometime during the next year or so, and you get all of that for $20, Vince.
$20? That's a lot of entertainment, folks.
Yeah, all you gotta do is go to wearegeeksnotnerds.com and click on the Geekvolution store, or you can just go to the link in the description of this video.
It's a great idea. We'll see you in your envelope.